What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about how to be a great podcast host. Oh yes, this is so many of you, and you're wondering, how do I be a great interviewer? How do I really set the stage and lift up my guests? Well, we're going to talk about some of that today, and really we're going to talk about super practical tips to make sure that you as the host have the best possible opportunity to lift up your message and get your podcast out there and listen to more people. All right, well, I want you to think about being a host, like hosting someone in your home. What do you think about? You think about the environment, and then you think about, what are we going to talk about? I need you to be super prepared as the host to take care of your environment and how you show up to the conversation. So let's talk about environment first, then we'll talk about the mental state and kind of how you show up, what you bring, so that you can be the best possible host for all of your guests that you're going to have. All right, let's talk about environment first. I've got my computer set up here. I've got it at eye level. If this is a video podcast, this is super important because I want to be looking at the camera at my eye level, not down at them, not over to the side. I want to look at my guest. Something I do really specifically is put a sticky note over the Zoom call, over my video on the Zoom call, so that I'm not looking at my face the whole time, but I'm either looking at the camera or I'm looking at the face of the person that I'm talking to. Microphone. Get your mic set up. I mean, pay the money for this, whatever it is. This is a blue mic. This, I think it costs $100, and it's been really good for me. I also got the pop screen kind of filter on it and all that stuff. It's been really, really good. Make sure that you take care of those audio settings. I'm sure your engineer or however you set this up is going to really focus on that, but I can't stress the importance of your mic enough to make sure that you show up and you have a good experience with your guest. Have some water, have something next to you to drink, but make sure that you've got a cloth under it so that when you put it down, when you take a sip, it doesn't make this sound, but it makes this sound. Nothing. How about that? All right, try to take care of your environment, the sounds that are around you. If you've got a dog, put it in a crate, put it somewhere, get it out of here. Take care of the space so that your guests can have the best experience and they're not distracted by anything. Also, I always have a notebook next to me when I'm hosting, when I'm interviewing somebody, because I know that some thoughts are going to come to mind, and if I want to be engaged while I'm listening to my guest, then I'm going to jot down the idea and come back to it instead of trying to think of what I'm going to say when their answer is over. I want to be engaged with listening to them and also let the ideas stick so that I can come back to it in the interview. That's how I take care of my environment. Make sure that your chair is quiet, your space is quiet, you're comfortable, computer setup, mic, your headphones, all of that stuff. Make sure that your environment is protected. Now, here's how you show up to prepare as a host. And it's 4 things, and it's actually the same 4 things that I would say if you want to be a great podcast guest. I want you to listen, learn, laugh, and lift up your guest. So let's talk about those 4 things. What does it mean to listen as a podcast host? Well, obviously you're there to listen. I assume you're having a guest on there and you're going to ask them a lot of questions. A lot of podcast hosts don't freaking listen to the answers that the guests give. They're just thinking about their next question and they don't respond to it. The best conversations are actual conversations. So ask a question and then ask a follow-up question to that before moving on to the next one. I know you've got an agenda, you want to go through that, but please make sure that you are responding to what they have said in some relevant, specific way that really shows active listening, and it means a lot because as an audience listening to this, I'm listening for the conversation. I'm listening to the back and forth. I'm not trying to get an agenda across, and I don't think that you should either. I think that you should be listening to your guests and responding to them as you would in a real conversation. That's how you listen. I want you to also, let's talk about laughing. Laugh with your guests. This is so important in a good conversation. You might not think of yourself as a funny person, and it's not a comedy podcast. Maybe it is. But if it's not, it doesn't have to be like prepared laughs. It just has to be lighthearted conversation. You're going to have fun with your guest. This is on you as a host to set this tone, make sure that it goes this way. Some people do this with silly questions like, oh, what's your favorite cereal? Or what's your most embarrassing moment? And it sets up kind of a silliness. That's fine, you can do that. Make sure that you have some space to laugh with your guest. It's so absolutely important as a listener to engage and have some fun in the conversation. I also want you to learn from your guest. This isn't just about you going in and creating this space, but you really show an opportunity that you show your audience that you are learning, that you are humble enough because you don't know everything, that you are truly using this as an opportunity to learn from your guests. So lift them up. I mean, let the audience know that you're learning something new here. Say that in the interview. Wow, I'm really learning a lot from you. This is fantastic. Some great podcast hosts say that. They just admit that. They're like, hey, I created a podcast so I could learn from other business people or learn from all the people that I've always respected. And this is a great way to do that. So just admit that, say that, let the audience know that you're learning something along the way, and it goes a long way to lifting up your guest. This is so important as a host. You have the opportunity to lift up this person, to really elevate them. And if you can do this well, you come across looking better. If you can elevate your guest higher than you, the host, then it goes a long way to showing how humble you are, how gracious you are, and how much you actually appreciate them. Lift up your guest by celebrating their accomplishments, celebrating how great of a guest they were, how great they did at answering the questions, how much you really respect them and their work. Lift them up any opportunity you can, because then your audience is going to also lift them up, and that helps the guest in their business or their work following this. And that's really what we're talking about here, is helping each other, making all boats rise. So you want to show up as a great podcast host, take care of your environment, take care of how you prepare with great questions, listening, learning, laughing, and lifting up your guest, and you're going to have a great podcast the next time that you go out there. All right, thanks so much for watching. If you're interested in how to be a great guest, there's another video like that or just like this, and you might find some similarities in that. All right, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.